What is going on, everyone? I am Dane Peterson, and I am here to give you some free and basic real estate research tips using your local property appraiser website. So right now we're standing right outside of my local property appraiser building. But the great thing is that nowadays you can access most, if not all, of this information right from the internet. But first things first, what is the property appraiser and what is it that they do? To keep it simple, they're your local authority that assigns and determines values for your tangible property based on improvements and your property's characteristics. Those values are then used to calculate property taxes. As a landlord, rehabber, and realtor, I use these websites daily because of the amount of public information that you can get from them. And that's exactly what I plan to show you. So if you get any value from this video, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Now let's jump online and show you exactly how easy this information is to get. All right, everyone. In full disclosure, I had no idea which county our capital city, Tallahassee, was located in until starting this video. So this is just showing you how easy it is to use these property appraiser sites. But here is Leon County. And I'm only pronouncing it this way because I'm just learning this. But here we go. This is in the panhandle of Florida, better known to Florida State University. That is the home for the college located there in Tallahassee. So we're going to start with that. And again, I always like to show up at the Wikipedia page because I like to scroll down and go under communities. And the reason I like to go under communities for the actual county is so I can get a quick idea, especially if I'm new to this area and I'm looking at properties there. I want to just see what some of the towns are called within the area. So you can see here, these are census designated places, and then here's some unincorporated communities. And I do believe that Tallahassee is the only actual incorporated town within Leon County. And the reason this is important is because if you do have other incorporated towns, usually some of the websites such as the permitting site are going to be very specific to the incorporated towns, and they will have their own offices that control that. But it looks like we might actually have one permitting office for Leon County. But what we're going to do, like we do in a lot of our property appraiser videos, we're going to identify a property in the area that we can use to do some quick research and just see how easy it is to pull up data for these properties. Let's do a little different here. Normally we're pulling up Zillow. This time I'm going to hop over to realtor.com and I'm going to just type in Leon County, Florida. Do a quick search here. With no knowledge of this area besides Tallahassee, I'm going to hop over into their map view, which also outlines the county, which is good to see this. All right, we're going to zoom in here and we're just going to pick a random. I'm going to go right into the heart of Tallahassee here. I would like to use a single family home. So let's do this one. This one says it's contingent. So right here, we've got this house, nice looking house. What we will do is use that house for our test subject here. So again, we'll hop over into this one. We have 521 East Georgia Street. It's good that we got a direction in there. It'll add a little bit. So what we're going to do, we have already gone to Google. We just typed in Leon County Property Appraiser and it brought us right here to their home page. And you can see right at the very top section, it says search feature. Click here to try it today. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to agree to that. And this is where we're going to be able to type in our address. So if we have the address, that's what we can use to search. If we have a parcel ID, most likely you would not have that. You'd be able to search for it right there. And you can also do owner name and subdivision. It looks like you can also extend that and do it by additional information such as square footage, homestead, has pool. I really like that. I think that's a neat way for you if you're targeting properties to try and find some properties that meet some certain criteria you're looking for. But we're going to click on less. And there's something I want to first try out. Sometimes these search sites will do an auto population. I have not used this site yet, so I'm not sure. So let's just use a common last name like they're giving us an example, like a John Smith. Typically you go last name, then first. Let's just start typing out Smith, and it does. So it does a nice little rollout here where you could find Smith, and as you add characters, it starts to narrow it down more. There you go. So we can search that way. So maybe you have a friend, a family member, somebody you're working with, and you want to try and find their property. This is how you would do it. You can go find where they live. That's right, folks. This is all public information, just like the sales price of your house. So that's not something to really hide from people. So we have our 521 East Georgia. We got the address right up there on the tab while we're searching. 521 East, yep, here we go. Georgia Street. All right, looks like this has an apartment 1 and an apartment 2. So that's interesting. Let's hit search, see what pops up here. Here is the property, and let's see if this is the same property by clicking on map. So right here, Georgia and Cherry Street, right on the corner. Cherry Street, Georgia. We're looking at the right house. That's not something you'd always have to do. Okay, so it only has one option down here. Sometimes if you search by somebody's name, you'll actually get multiple properties listed, and that would be an example when you're gonna have multiple search results, depending on how specific you get. If you have an owner that owns multiple properties, this would be a way had you searched by the actual name. Before we click into this one, we could reverse search this. We can take this out, and we can do Boyle Robin, which is the name of the person that owns this property, and I'm going to search by just the name, and there we go. We can see that this person actually owns 2 properties in town. This is the one that's being sold, so it might not be a primary residence, maybe it is. It just helps you get to know the owner a little bit better if you are trying to do a little bit of additional research on a property, and I'm just showing you the way that you can use a property appraiser site. But we're going to go back into this 521 East Georgia by clicking on the parcel ID. Parcel ID is unique to a property. It helps reference your property when you're searching, when the county or government is actually sending you notices, and this is related to your tax bill as well. So you'll see your parcel ID will show up on other parts of the county website, such as a permit site or your tax collector site. That parcel ID is a good number to use for searching, and I like to keep it in the file with the properties that I'm working with. But let's just start from the top here. We're going to work our way down. We're going to explain some of these different parts of the property appraiser site, what kind of information you can get from them that's useful, what you can kind of ignore most of the time, and we're just going to do a quick walkthrough and see how user-friendly the Leon County property appraiser site is. So far, so good. So you got a little bit of information up here, which is explaining a few things on there. We have, again, our parcel ID. We have the owner. We have their mailing address, which is the same as the actual property address. That's something to take note of. Oftentimes, you'll see a different mailing address than physical address, which is good to note. That would mean this person does not live at the property, most likely, if they had a different mailing address. But we can see Robin here does have the same mailing address. Location, this one says view all addresses because if you remember when we were searching, it showed that there was an apartment 1 and an apartment 2. And that's something we're gonna need to take note of as we go through some of this information to make sure, for instance, when we're looking at the square footage, that we're looking at the square footage for the entire building, maybe not just either one building if it's the apartments are separated, or if it's combined, the total living square footage of the entire building. Below that, we have property use. And the reason you have these numbers is if you have a database file, a spreadsheet that you get from the county, a lot of times you're gonna have rows or columns that are gonna actually be taking use of those numbers for reference purposes. Legal description, if you are writing out a contract, you would wanna copy this, put this in on the legal description line on your contract, which it might have, it might not. Usually they put a shortened version on these property appraiser sites, and then there is a longer version that might be on the actual deed or paperwork that you complete. This is in the East View edition for the subdivision. It's located within the city, has the tax district and acreage. For acreage, we're sitting at 0.25. Sometimes they'll actually give you the square footage. So if you saw something like 11,000 square feet, that's roughly the same thing as a quarter acre, 44,000 being a full acre. So you can see we have a couple buttons down here. We have tax collector, permits, tax estimator, and print details. These are all great buttons here. I think a lot of them are self-explanatory, but the tax collector site and this little icon that you see next to it does mean it's going to bring you out of their website into another website. So this, we'll go into the tax collector here and hop right over and just show you how simple it is when you're using this direct from the property appraiser site. The nice thing is it's bringing you right into the record for the exact property you're searching for. This account number here, let's just double check this. This should match up with our actual parcel ID. So you can see it ends in 420. So that's what this is. So you can see here, this is the actual website for the tax collector. So let's see here, services, search and pay property tax. And here you go, owner, business name, and look at that. They don't even have the parcel ID as a way to search. So for this, we've got to go back and we have Boyle Robin. This is for 2022. We've got the Georgia And it looks like it's got a couple other people listed as well. But we know the one we were focusing on was this Georgia Street. So what we could do is we could click in here and it's going to bring us to this exact same page that we already have open. So what I'll do is I will put a link to the tax collector site in the description of the YouTube video, and other links will be in there as well. But when you're looking at the tax collector site, one thing to pay attention to is that you can see previously paid bills. You're going to be able to see what the property taxes were for each of the prior years. So it's a good way to estimate what you should expect to see in the years to come. That's all based on what the assessed value of the home is at the time of those taxes. So that's one thing to take into account. Sometimes when you're buying a property, you might see some lower taxes, and those could be substantially increased depending on what those people were being assessed versus what it will be assessed at after your purchase. So something to take note of. And the reason I mention that is if we're back over here, this tax estimator, that's why that exists, so that you can do your own little tax estimate to see what you could expect to be paying in taxes. We won't go into the permits one just yet. I want to save that for the very end of this video. So let's keep going down here. Print details. This is always a nice sheet. I like to just print this into a PDF version, put it into a file when I'm working, researching a specific property, whether that's properties that I own, maybe properties I'm vetting, maybe properties I'm using for a client for those purposes. Either way, I want to always print a PDF version. Sales information is the next one. So we can see what Robin did pay for this property and when she paid for it. It was back in 2012. It looks like she paid $220 for it. So she's owned this property for 10 years and now she's wanting to sell it. You can click right into this and it should bring up a copy of the actual warranty deed. Yes, that is public record as well. So there you have a copy of the deed. And if you wanted to get any other kind of prior sales information, you have all of that here as well. So it gives you a little range of what the house was going for. Back in our last big recession, big crash, you can call it, you can see at the height of that, $310,000. And what are they looking for it for right now? I think we saw, and now it's being sold for $475,000. That is a nice win right there for Robin. Isn't that crazy though to think people make decisions for different reasons? Sometimes it's a necessity. This person sold the house at a $90,000 loss, and now this person is going to be doubling the return on their money. So real estate is a interesting investment. Hold them for the long term, folks. Hold those properties forever. Next, we have certified value history. So these are the numbers that are going to go into calculating your taxes when you look at the assessed values here. Taxable values, same thing. It's breaking down where these taxes are coming from. Building. A lot of single family homes, you would normally just be seeing one building. Other buildings can be anything from a shed or workshop on a property to a whole nother dwelling on the property, depending if it was, say, a multifamily. For this one, we're not 100% sure yet if this is our apartment too. There's a good chance it is. You can see they were both built around the same time, and you have 1,600 square feet cooled and 500 square feet cooled. Come back up here. So when we're looking at these buildings, over here on the right, it's showing us a sketch. What this sketch is showing us is square footage in the parentheses. And this A3, A0, A2, even the A1 here, they all represent a different part of the building. And usually there's an area where there's a description of what those are. So you can see A0 is our main building. That's the 1,676 square feet, which is always labeled as heated or cooled, or maybe even both like it is right here. But that's going to be your main living area. Then these other ones, you can see the A1, A2, A3. You have the open porch. You have a basement carport, and it says finished, and an enclosed porch finished. So that breaks down all the different square footage, which would come under your total square footage, not necessarily the heated. Building 2, when you click on this one, it switches over to that 500 square foot building, and the building sketch changes as well. So I'm not sure if you noticed as we were clicking between these two buildings, this building details section, which is the next area we're going to cover, that changes. So on building 1, you can see it's giving us the tax year that it's on, size in terms of stories, what the exterior wall, roof covering, all that's composed of, which is great information to have when you're not physically there at a property, or even if you are there, sometimes you might be unaware of what the finishing of the property is because it could be hidden by, say, some stucco or siding. So you might not know if it's actually a block or frame building until you get in here and just verify that 100%. Never take their word for it. It's giving us a bedroom, bathroom count. I always like to compare that to the listing information. So we found this property on Realtor.com. And on Realtor, you can see that it's labeling it as a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. On here, we just read that it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, but don't forget, we're dealing with 2 buildings. So if we click on this second building, you can see here, this one's not even listing a bedroom or bathroom. It could be a studio, or this first building maybe has 2 bathrooms that were added on to it. So that's one thing when we're going to actually look at this property, that's something that I personally would be paying attention to. The fact that it's labeled a 3-bathroom, but on Property Appraiser, all we can see is 1 bathroom. So where are the other 2? Is that something that was permitted? Was it not? Either way, I just want to know where those bathrooms are and why they're listed on Realtor.com but not the Property Appraiser site. We've already gone over the area here. Scrolling back up, if we go over on the right side of the screen, you can see here we have the map. So what I like about the Leon County Property Appraiser site and how their map is automatically loaded here, you can zoom out, zoom in on this map, and you can start clicking around on other properties, and you could hop right into those parcel ID property records by clicking on that parcel ID there. So that's a nice interactive map. Below it, you can see we can get into some other versions of the map. The advanced map is going to be exactly what that says. It's going to give us some extra filter items that we can use, different search criteria. And then these other links right here, you can see we have that same icon listed again. This is the icon that's actually going to bring us away from the web page onto a whole different website. One of those being the Google map, property info. I want to click on property info. I want to see what this one's taking us to. So this is neat. This is actually bringing up the GIS map and all the information that goes into it. So this looks like a good page that I would want to print out and put into the file along with that property record. Advanced map, we'll go into that one in just a second. You can see here homestead information, tax year for 22 and 23, it says no, which I find that interesting since we can see the mailing address is the same as the physical address. Normally when you see that, you are going to see that it's a homestead property. Down here, this chart actually went along with the certified taxable value section we already covered. It's just breaking it down into a chart so you can see where most of your taxes are being allocated. All right, so now let's go back up. Let's go into this advanced map. I want to just show you the map features. When you're doing extra research on these properties, or you're trying to identify maybe some properties that you have some interest in, I always like to use the map feature because it's just going to give us a lot of neat extra tools that we're going to be able to use. I know we mentioned the different filters that you're going to be able to use for this criteria, and you can see here on this layer list, this is allowing us to show different things on the map all at once. So we're going to zoom out on this real quick so you can see you're going to be able to use this to zoom into different parts of town and get so much more extra additional information. So there's sales information that's popping up here. You can see it lets you click on different sales, and you just want to keep dropping these down to see exactly how they're plotting this information. So I really like this feature. It allows me to just quickly scroll around here. And if I wanted to also have the Realtor.com site loaded up at the exact same time, sitting right next to each other, you could be looking at what some for sale prices are versus properties in that area and what they sold for all here in 2022. So it'd be an easy way for me to quickly be looking at a county like this or a town, having no idea of what value should be, and be able to have a quick reference point. So I think this is a really neat tool. You got to just get into the map GIS site, and you got to just click around and see what kind of details you want to have listed when you're searching around on here. But there is a lot you can do with it. And I always think it's a great tool, a great companion that goes along with the Property Appraiser sites. Those GIS maps are always very detailed. And the last thing I wanted to cover on this Property Appraiser site, because they keep all their information pretty compact in one nice area, this NBHD sales listed under the sales information. I'm starting to see this on some Property Appraiser sites. Not all of them have this yet, but the ones that do, I think this is a great tool for people that don't have direct access to the MLS and they're trying to get a lot of sales data. You just saw how in advanced map we could show actual sales in 2022 and a couple years prior to that if you wanted to, right on the map. Well, this right here, this stands for neighborhood sales. When I click into neighborhood sales, it brings us to another part of the Property Appraiser site, and check out what it's giving us here. It's showing us the last 18 months of sales in this neighborhood here around the property we're looking at. You can always click into the map to actually see it, but this is a neat tool because we know the property that we're looking at right now is listed on Realtor.com. I think we said it was $475,000. So this is just quickly showing us, and it looks like it goes in order of date. You can see most recently we had a property in May and it sold for $670,000. So this is a good way for us to just start looking at some previous sales data directly from the property appraiser site. And as you saw, you could also use the map feature for that as well. But this is always nice. I would always be looking at this and then comparing it to some of the other properties. We're going to close this out. We're going to go into the last part of this video, which is going to be permitting. So I've already got the permit site loaded up here by just typing in Leon County permit. So they have a nice simple search page. Sometimes it's not that easy to find where you go to do the actual searching, but again, we'll have the link in the description of the video. What I like when a property appraiser site lists the permit button is it's going to bring us right into the actual record. We're not going to have to go through the fun part of trying to search for it ourselves and find it. But I want to do that because I want to see how simple it is. Some of these permit sites are not as easy as others, but let's see here. We can search by the address, the parcel number. So easiest way, if it works, will be to use your parcel ID to search, because we know that it's not going to allow for any error that an address could present to us by having different directions or having something such as a road, street, place. Any of those endings on an address can add some problems while we're doing this search. So there we go. Let's see if it's going to force us to put in a date. Sometimes they only search for a date range. This one does not. So it looks like it brought us right to the correct property. And here we go. We have all the information listed right there. Before I click into that, I want to do this right from the property appraiser site and see if it brings us right into the record. And it does. If we wanted to, these are always going to be numerical in terms of the date. If we wanted to go back to 1998 and click on this, it's a complete permit. We can see what it was. It was related to electrical. It's closed out. It's complete. One thing is when you are buying a property, they will always do a lien search. So they will find out typically if there's any kind of open permits. But if you just want to go see the history, maybe you want to find out when the roof was replaced last on this property, if they did some kind of addition, any kind of permitted work, you're going to be able to find it on here. Sometimes you might not see a single permit for a property. Other times you'll have extensive history and records just like this one. So I would always want to just click in and see what some of the most recent permits are, because I'd want to know, is this property actually have a new roof? Does it have something important that was actually done the right way in terms of going through the permitting process and having inspections and done that way. Doesn't mean the work was done right though. But that's it. That's really what I wanted to show you. That's going to wrap it up for the Leon County Property Appraiser site. I hope you guys got a single piece of good information out of this. I hope I taught you something you guys did not know yet. Throw a question in the comments if you got any, and I will try and answer it. Also, if you happen to find any broken links, something that's not working, this video was made here at the end of 2022, so everything should be accurate and current up to this point. Again, thank you for watching. Please smash the subscribe button, hit the like button to help me continue making these videos that I'm making for you completely free. Again, I hope you got something out of this, and have a great day.